All right, guys, we're ready to get started here. So, first off, good afternoon slash morning for those of you on the West Coast or in some other time zones. Thanks for joining us today for our first MVP Office Hours of 2014. You'll notice on this one, I called it the U.S. edition because if you were able to hear our last MVP Office Hours or were there, you heard us talk about taking it internationally. With Josh speaking in the UK now, we're going to be doing some MVP Office Hours over there on that time zone so that we can, further help out people within, that are international and need a better time to join the MVP Office Hours. So look for that too, and Josh will be communicating that out as we go. Josh, do you want to mention the time on the first one there within the...
Sure. It's definitely going to be in February, so just keep on the lookout for the Twitter there and also a couple of web content spaces. But definitely we are going to start out in EMEA, and there's interest for other regional areas as well. And so as those areas get resources that are willing to take on MVP Office Hours, we'll definitely sort of franchise the solution that we put out there for the U.S. A lot of great traction, and so EMEA, look out, you're next.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. So just a quick blurb on MVP Office Hours. If this is your first time, really what MVP Office Hours is all about is just allowing you to ask questions, whether those are admin or developer-specific questions, to MVPs. And fitting that we just announced the renewed and new MVPs for Winter 14. That we have this the day after that. So we have some new, I know we have some new MVPs on the call. But like I said, that really, the ground rules here are we open it up. It's an open forum for you to ask questions, whether that be through the chat in the web meeting. You can speak up. You can raise your hand in the web meeting, and I'll just call on you once the dialogue gets finished. So since it's an open forum, we just ask that, if you have the ability to mute your line during the call until you speak up or whatnot, do that for us. That way it's easier to hear. And then a quick introduction on me. My name is Jared Kingston. I work for Aperio as a business analyst, and I've been doing Salesforce for about 5 years. And you just heard from Josh. Josh works with me at Aperio. Josh, you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Sure. Hey, guys. My name is Joshua Hoskins. Been working on Salesforce, the Salesforce community for a number of years. I'm a solution architect with Aperio, and jump-started the MVP Office Hours last year this time. So we saw it through the end of the year, did a recap last year for goals and what we look forward to in 2014. If you did not get a chance to listen to that, it's on the Cheddar group and the Success communities, and you can take a look at all the goals and where we're taking MVP Office Hours in 2014.
Cool. Thanks, Josh. All right, so now I'm going to introduce you the MVPs on the call real quickly. We have a lot of them, so I don't want to take too much time. If you're an MVP, will you go ahead and raise your hand in the web meeting just so I don't miss you down below? I'll try to pick you out. But
wow, we got a lot of people. Okay, guys, keep it crisp.
Yeah.
Like 2 seconds.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to start from the top. Andy, go ahead.
Hi, this is Andy Betcher, Force.com MVP, development guy. Hello.
Awesome. All right, Bill, you're up.
No, Crane, huh? That's it.
That's good. Brendan.
Hey guys, Brendan Conroy, Manager of Sales Ops and Salesforce MVP.
Cool. Mr. Downey.
Yeah, Brett Downey. I am the soon-to-be admin actually over at ReadyTalk.
Awesome. And fitting that we're using ReadyTalk for this. All right. The Wizard.
Hey, this is Brian Kwong, also known as Salesforce Wizard, admin and developer guy.
Awesome. Chris.
Zulo?
Yeah.
This is Chris Zulo, Manager at Acumen Solutions and Salesforce MVP.
All right, Daniel, you're up.
Hey, Daniel Hoaxt. I'm a developer and technical architect, and I also blog over at verticalcoder.com.
Cool. David.
David Chang, I'm a developer.
And Deepa.
Deepa Patel with Hollip Consulting and a Silicon Valley user group co-leader as well.
Jackie.
Jackie Travieso out of South Carolina, MVP and independent contractor.
All right, Kevin.
Hi, it's Kevin Swigum, owner and consultant at Radial Web. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
Awesome. Maria?
Maria Belli, Senior Salesforce Consultant with Case Partners out of Connecticut.
Cool. Marty?
Marty Chang, Consultant and Technical Architect at Slalom Consulting.
All right. Natalie?
Natalie, I'm with Talent Plus, a company admin and Nebraska co-leader for the group.
Awesome. All right, and a new MVP here, Sarah.
Good morning. I am Sarah Deutsch at Sarahforce. I'm with Cloud for Good. I'm the Sacramento User Group co-lead and a fresh MVP. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Congrats and welcome. Thanks for joining us. All right, Shell, you're up.
Shell Black, blog at shellblack.com. Thanks.
Nice. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Steve Mollis.
Hi, I'm Steve Mollis, or Steve Mo from Boston, and I'm living proof that they will let just about anyone become an MVP.
All right, that's a good way.
All right, guys, let's jump into it. If I can get the MVPs to lower their hands, because there are a lot of highlights right now, and then Daryl, you kick it off. We just want to make sure that at least we have a good way for the newer ones to raise their hands for their questions. Okay, good.
All right, let's start off with some questions. Who's got a question? All right, Cheryl Feldman, go ahead.
Hi, this is Cheryl. I have a question. We're trying to solve a business problem, and I've put together a design document. I was wondering if I could quickly kind of go through at a high level what the problem is, and essentially what my design is. And I was hoping that you guys could kind of tell me if I'm heading in the right direction.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So our big challenges and what we've been waiting for a long time is to be able to report on approvals, and we can't, and the business just can't wait anymore. So what I've designed that I think we can do, and the dev team that's behind me is looking at it right now to see if it's, I think it should be technically feasible, is to essentially create a custom object against opportunities. So the approvals are against the opportunity object. And essentially, every time something happens on the approval, whether it's submitted, whether it's approved, rejected, recalled, the approver changes will essentially be inserting or updating a record against the opportunity using Apex. The one challenge I'm finding is I can't seem to figure out how to access historical approval information through the data loader. I tried exporting a bunch of stuff, and I'm just not getting any results, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or it's just not available. And I was kind of wondering if anybody else has dealt with this challenge and has done something similar or something different to kind of meet this business requirement.
Cool, that's a great question. So MVPs, since there's a lot of you, go ahead and raise your hand if you want to give some input back to Cheryl. And we'll start off there. And over to you, Jared. There's anyone there? Actually, okay, I can start off. So Cheryl, that's a great question. So if you take a look at the Idea Exchange, there's a bunch of enhancements that are listed through the Idea Exchange around this particular topic, recruiting on the history. So there are Salesforce objects that are native that you can export. You can definitely take a look at them. The only problem is that they are very highly key-based. It's a very slim table. And so you might have to export 2 or 3 different tables to be able to get what exactly happened for that approval. So you're able to get the current status of it and whether it's been approved, rejected, or pending. but it's an adjoin table with the user, and the user, you'd have to export the user as well. So you're able to get the status on the high level of that particular approval and that step, and that's available, but it's probably going to take some work to bring that together. So in that case, when we have customers that are looking for that deeper layer, it may be you may want to take a look about determining what exactly the business value is to indicate, and whether that's a couple of pick lists that you create on the approval record to sort of drive through, so you have an additional status field so you can see where it's at any given point, and then use native Salesforce reporting to report on that pick list and just drive it outside the workflow process. So still do the workflow process, but have additional fields that may help you report, and bubble those up in native Salesforce.com reporting if you need be.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually what we have now. We've had our opportunity approval process out there since 2008, and we have, extensive workflow to update different fields. But they're looking for, essentially how many times does it get resubmitted with it, how many times. And the thing is, I could keep, adding more and more stuff to the workflow, but really I think what they want, unless I can't think of another way to do it, is to look at essentially how many times did it have to be, returned back before it was approved? How many times is it kind of getting switched around between approvers? How long is the overall process taking? How long does it take to go between step and step without adding tons and tons of fields to the opportunity? Because I think we'd have to add tons and tons of fields to the opportunity to track every single piece of our approval process.
Great. So that's your value prop right there, right?
Great.
So given that, you definitely want to do a child record, which is a custom object you talked about, and you want that through Apex as it drives through the process.
Yeah.
So now that I've heard that value and you want to be tracking those types of things, and you have those types of use cases, that's exactly where you want to be, and you want to be able to extend that object, right? So just make sure you keep within the confines of that one custom object that you create, so that the reporting can be dynamic. If you were to create multiple objects from multiple approvals, that will sort of be unmanageable very quickly.
Yeah. No, I think we're looking at saying in one object, and essentially maybe having, one, essential. We've done something similar for cases where we needed to track additional case history. But I guess my question is, how accessible, and I guess maybe it's more of a question for developers, how accessible is that approval information through Apex?
It's as accessible as it would be from getting it from the data loader, and it's probably even more accessible because we can actually do the joins in Apex as well.
Okay.
So definitely do that. And this is an amazing use case. So when you do get your feedback from your development team, and you decide to implement it, it'd be a great sort of blog post or update to the community. So reach out to us when you want to reflect on the implementation.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I actually wrote a blog this morning on the overall design, so I'll send that to you guys. And then the dev team's going to come back to me on Tuesday. We're all out on Monday with an overall estimate of the size of the overall stories to actually get this implemented. So I'll let you know.
Cool, that's awesome. Go ahead and post that to MVP Office Hours. That'd be great.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Our next question comes from Thomas Ping. Thomas, what's your question?
Hi, this might be really basic, but I just started with a new company, and basically what I found is they have roughly by my count like 40,000 accounts, and then a lot of contacts, and they also log assets in there. What they've come up with a new sort of enterprise account manager, and so each account manager runs probably about 80 different accounts, and so just think of a big brand name, and then the sales are sort of global, so they kind of go all it could be India, it could be China, it could be the U.S. Most of the sales is in the U.S. But basically, what they're in charge of is to be able to to steward that, to sell more to these large corporations that have purchased licenses from us in various ways. So really, a lot of the Salesforce pieces, they aren't using any hierarchy, and so it's kind of like the problem of like, okay, they have a lot of data to look at, they have a lot of pieces to look at, and one of the things I'm figuring out is that we really need to fix the structure not just first, but just like, you know, that's one of the things that need to be thought out, and then kind of go from there. And so I'm just kind of wondering, just in terms of, I've posted in other places, but just curious to take on sort of like account hierarchies and, you know, the ability to then report on total assets, because we do log assets. It comes, you know, we use Salesforce API from our sort of web store system to you know, create assets as they're actually purchased and to include serial numbers and stuff like that. But just kind of like, you know, just kind of checking, like I'm kind of thinking of going down the route of doing, you know, some account hierarchies, and just curious what, you know, are there good apps, are there good tools out there, are there additional reporting apps that I need to look at in terms of helping to do these things. Right now, a lot of the work I'm kind of using Talend, which is an ETL tool, to pull data from Salesforce and do a lot of reporting manipulation outside of the system. And, you know, of course, you know, everyone wants logging into Salesforce, see the dashboard, and be able to, you know, make moves on that. So kind of just any thoughts, opinions, pointers to apps, and any kind of help. People have gone down the road of using account hierarchies, and, you know, I'm hoping to stay at one level, but you know, right now from the sales perspective, they don't care if it's China or India, but I know down the line they will care. So I'll pause there.
I'll go ahead and let the other MVPs raise their hands. While they're doing that, I'll say two things. One, it's very easy to get bent around the axle on hierarchies inside of Salesforce. So make sure that you take a look at the data elements that you store in each account, and make sure that you're not storing the same data for the same account twice, right? So, you know, a lot of people, when they create a new account record and they tie it to another account record, it's because they have different addresses. So you have to make sure you draw that line in the sand, so you don't end up duplicating data, because if you duplicate data, then what's going to happen is if you change one address, the other addresses won't change. So those are my 2 points. I want to open up to the other MVPs.
Sorry, can you you said that super fast. So you're just kind of saying, like, draw the line in the sand about what constitutes a separate account and what doesn't, and then make sure there's like a sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah. Make sure you're drawing this a line in the sand, because it's very easy to get duplicate accounts. So you have to have strict rules to understand, you know, where it is in the hierarchy. It's very easy to get bent around the axle around this type of item because it's structure. And also keep in mind that your data limits will also play a big role in it as well, because for every account record that you have, it's, you know, 2K, so that will go against your storage limits if your model goes too deep. And there are a bunch of assets on the community as well as, like, you know, inline hierarchy, so that on the account page you can actually, you know, visualize what the account looks at up and down, and those are on the force.com developer site. It's called Inline Hierarchy. And it's just a visual of exactly how it is. And you could also build, you know, some parameterized reporting as well to make that happen.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other input from the MVPs?
Come on, guys. All right. I guess next question.
Sorry, this is Marty.
Hey, Marty.
Hey, so was that Jared with the suggestion about the drawing the line in the sand?
It was Joshua.
That was Josh. Sorry. No, I mean, I definitely second that, and I think when you like, one of the issues that I've seen some clients have is basically especially with number fields and how they roll up from hierarchy to hierarchy, like a really simple field like the revenue. You want to make sure that's very well defined, so if someone's looking at a high level or record that's higher up in the hierarchy, they know what they're looking at. If it's aggregate, what's included, what's not included. And if there are kind of roll-ups like that, you'll probably want to leverage triggers or something to help you keep those in sync without you having to worry about that as an admin or a user. I guess a question back to you, Tom, is it seemed like there are two questions there. Like you're going down account hierarchies. Did you also say, like, people are seeing too much that they don't actually need to see?
In some ways, yes. I mean, but that's at many different levels. So, you know, I think there's in some ways some stuff could be fixed by record types or just kind of be smarter about that. But sorry, where are you going with that? Like if you can probe deeper or what you thought it meant, because I want to know all the gotchas, right?
Yeah, no, I think like the only thing because like especially with large organizations, they probably don't. Users care most about what's relevant to them, and if you have different lines of business in the same org and your organizational wide defaults or your org wide defaults are basically set to be open, not necessarily a bad thing, but the users get confused because they see a lot of activities or a lot of related records or cases, whatever the object might be, that aren't relevant to what they do.
Right.
So I'm curious if you've locked that down, and that would be one way to help you create reports or dashboards or even just like in Salesforce to be able to have a more tailored experience to that user.
No, that's a great point. This is week number 2 on the job. So definitely they have a very my assessment of it is a very open Salesforce implementation and very vanilla, which is kind of nice walking into. So you don't have all these triggers and everything to understand. But certainly to do what they need to do and to do what we need to do. A lot of that work needs to, start happening, and so kind of I'm still in, picking the low-hanging fruit, going with some stuff, and just for example, I just got off the call with some of the sales guys, and I was like, yeah, so how do you know what's up and coming? And they're like, yeah, we kind of have it in our heads, and we don't even use. One guy didn't even use the reports very much, so I'm even going some basics, like just trying to pull some reports and get them emailed to them regularly. But the thing is with their Salesforce implementation, there are tons of integrations. There's tons of systems spitting data into Salesforce, and certainly the data quality is a big issue as well. There are a fair amount of accounts without address information, and so it's working all ends, all perspectives on this one. But I thought I'd start with asking about account hierarchy because that's something I'm thinking about implementing with them.
Yeah, I
cool.
think if
cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, good stuff there. I want to move on to the next question here. We have a couple piling up here, so I want to make sure we get to them. Sarah has a question on recommendations around CTI phone integrations within Salesforce. They use Cisco and a small company of about 100 Salesforce users. Any suggestions from the MVPs on that?
This is Natalie. I'm actually curious about the same because we're in the same spot.
Cool. Anybody have any experience with CTI?
Worked with InsideSales.com. This is Shell.
Why do you say that?
No, I said I have worked with InsideSales.com solution on some CTI stuff. I guess more on the use case, and I can tell you if it's probably a good fit.
Oh, okay. I was just playing around with it. I saw that there was some information really more related with the Service Cloud, and so I didn't know if you have to have that too. I mean, I know you don't have to because of the open APIs, but I was curious to know what does it get you with the Service Cloud versus not having the Service Cloud. That was another question I had with that too.
Yeah, I can pile on to that a little bit. So CTI is kind of interesting because the majority of the implementation really relies on the middleware in two pieces. The middleware that sits between Salesforce.com and your actually PBX switch that actually can control the phones, and then the other one is between your what's called the soft phone, which is between your computer and the Salesforce browser. And when you talk about CTI, those two pieces are completely up to the vendor and how they interact. The Salesforce configuration side is quite simple. So just make sure that when you're talking to your CTI vendors, you're talking to Cisco, ask them, do they have a Salesforce plugin that works for not only for your switch, which Cisco I'd imagine they do, but more importantly for your computers and the computers that will be running your environment. Sometimes they'll have particular specs. I know I've worked with Nbox and Symflex before. I think they've changed names a little bit. I don't know if they're Symflex now. They were Nbox before. I've worked with them, but that was on an Avaya system. So if you start going through them, they're really going to be phone system dependent. Anyone else?
Hey, yeah, this is Daniel. I can add a few things on that. So there's two different CTI technologies that Salesforce has right now, and if you're implementing CTI now, I would say look at OpenCTI, because the CTI Toolkit, which is the old version, is not going to be supported by Salesforce within the year, I think. So make sure that whatever vendor you're using supports OpenCTI. That would be my first suggestion. The other thing I would say is that with your question about what you get with Service Console, again, with the spring release, the biggest thing you can do is you can detach items from your console. So if you have multiple monitors, if your agents have multiple monitors, they could actually drag the phone component off of the console and over onto their second monitor so it doesn't take up real estate. So I think that would probably be the biggest benefit you'd have with the Service Console. The rest of it, you can have it pop cases or pop accounts, contacts, whatever. Most of them are configurable to pop based on the caller ID, a screen in Salesforce, and they'll pop either one. Whether you're in Service Console or just the regular apps, they'll pop the right screens for you. So
can you direct it to custom objects?
Sure. Yeah, most of them can. You want to put that in your requirements as you're looking through it. Most of them tend to say look up a contact, and they might either pop a contact for you. Based on the caller ID from the person calling. So if it can find a contact with a caller ID, then it'll show you the contact. We have our CTI configured to show a case page. So every time we get a call, it shows a new case page and pre-fills the contact information if it can find a match. So, those would be some things to look at. Is sort of what functionality can you have? What are you looking for with your CTI solution? What do you want it to do once you get a call too?
And I don't know if this is what I think you said Sarah was getting at, but we were looking at Cisco too. Do you have to have a different, if you just get Cisco, does it come with that, or do you have to usually purchase a third, like you were saying, a middleware or something to link it into Salesforce?
Yeah, even if you're with Cisco, they're going to charge you extra. So, so nobody will just give it to you for free. You will want to do some searching and finding a solution that'll work. I don't know what works with Cisco. We have Avaya. We're currently using Simplicity, but we're looking to replace them. And so we're actually working on an RFP process right now. Couple of ones that are on our list to look at include AMC, Ingenious. I'm blanking on the other ones at the moment, but those are two that have come to mind that are both support OpenCTI. I know they integrate with Avaya, but I don't think they're just Avaya.
And what are those exactly? Is it middleware? What is it?
Yeah. So what OpenCTI does is they will give you you'll probably need a server on site in your building that's going to be running. That'll be your connection to your phone switches. And when you get a call, and then you configure your OpenCTI to point to them, and then basically what that does is it will then display web pages that are served up by their local server that show you information about the call that's come in. So it might give you a dialer, it might give you some phone, show you the caller ID and a few other things. So that server is going to talk to your phones, to say Cisco switches, so it knows who's calling you. And also can also allow you to make outbound calls too. So that's what you're going to buy. That's the middleware. And so with OpenCTI, the benefit is it's all web-based. So you just install a server, and you're web-based. With the old CTI, with the toolkit, you had to install a component on every single person's desktop, and rolling that out is
what I think I saw in the
pain.
setup. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if they require you to install something on your desktop, then that's the old toolkit. I would recommend, if you're just implementing, not go that way, because you're going to have Salesforce is stopping that support.
Cool. Sarah, feel free to ask if you had other questions. Sorry, I know I asked some of mine in there.
That's okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was just going to mention that we did try inside sales actually twice and weren't happy with the call quality among other things. So we were looking for more because it's a bridge and it has a lot of extra stuff that I think we don't need. So we did check that out, but we're looking for something a little bit more basic. And all the info you shared was really helpful. So thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Looks like our next question here comes from Karen McWilliams. And Karen's question is, we use a custom object for quoting that uses the auto numbering in Salesforce. Every year, all of the quote numbers starting with the previous year will switch over to the current year, and it creates confusion. How can I get these auto numbers to not switch over? So, Karen, if I understand that correctly, is your auto number format include the, sounds like it includes the year and the numbering is switching over each year?
Yes, it includes the 2-digit year. So last year would start with 13, this year starts with 14, and then we have 5 digits after that. So we're having every year it creates confusion, because if you do any kind of change on the opportunity, even if it's changing a stage or changing the name, it will switch all the quotes that were originally in there over to the current year.
Hey, this is Daniel again. I'm wondering, are you actually using the auto numbering feature, or is that a formula field?
It's auto. It sounds like. Go ahead. It sounds like a formula field.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a formula field that's recalculating every time you visit the page. The auto numbers should not. The built-in auto numbering functionality on your records will not change when you roll over to a year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it sounds like you may want to check on that as a formula.
So to check, what you can do is if you go to your record and look for, hang on, I'm in my org here. If you go to the fields for that object, look for the field in your standard fields. There should be a field called name. I think it's called. Is it called name? No.
Yeah, it will be called name. Yep.
So it'll be depending on the object. I'm looking at case, which it has case number as the name. So look at, and then so in my case, like case number is an auto number, and then you can look at what the display format is. If you just click on those. So look for the field that you're using and look at what the data type is. If it says auto number, then it's really an auto number. If it says formula, then you've got a formula that's referencing a year.
Yeah, it is a formula. You're right, it is.
So that would be your issue.
Huh. But on a custom object, I just did it with another custom object I created too. So I could change this to an auto number and it wouldn't do that?
Right, only the name field can be an auto number.
Well, you know what? Yeah. I think one of our reasons we did a formula was because we have revs on those numbers, and we have to add revs A, B, C, D, and E at the end of them.
So you might be better off in that case using a workflow rule with a field update. So that will fire and then update a field that's a static, that's like a text field. So then it fires when you edit or when you create a new one, but it won't update every time you access the record.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well.
Okay, that helps.
Cool. All right,
thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. All right, looks like our next question here, and then we're going to try to move into some more, just see if there's any dev questions. Ebenezer, you had a question on lifetime combined amount. Shows 0 on the account level, but the contact level it shows an amount. How can I fix that problem? Can you give a little bit more information behind that?
Yeah, this is Ebenezer. Thank you very much. So on the contact level, the lifetime combined amount, we have an amount there. Donor gives donates, then it shows over there on the contact level, but it doesn't show it on the account level. And wondering if I can get help on that.
Are you using Nonprofit Starter Pack, or is this a Enterprise Edition?
Yeah, it's an Enterprise Edition, and we are using Luminate CRM.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Luminate is going to be a managed package. There are definitely some criteria in the logic that goes into rolling donation information up to the account level through the contacts. So without knowing exactly what that criteria is, it's kind of hard for us to tell you why it's not happening. That said, there are some additional ways for you to do roll-up summaries, and there's a tool on the AppExchange called Rollup Helper, and that will allow you to create custom fields in for Rollup Helper to help you tie the objects together and create new roll-up summaries. That's what I have to offer, but definitely there's some other MVPs and smart people on the phone that may have another take as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great. It's kind of a tough balance trying to support products that are managed extends, so managed packages. So we just want to make sure that at least if we can't provide you an answer, we point you to someplace else in the AppExchange that will give you a little bit more of flexibility.
Okay, sounds good.
This is David Chang. Ebenezer, do you have a support plan with Luminate, or is there some customer forum that you can submit this question to? Because you may find an answer either through their support or through their customer forums.
Yes, we do have support plan. I've sent several emails to Blackboard, but no response for a very long time, more than a year now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to our next question here, and this is more of a developer-centric question from one of our MVPs, David Chang. David, you had a question on Analytics API and some report filters?
Yeah, I was just wondering if anyone has tried the Analytics API to display existing reports. According to the help, the limits page says that standard report filters are not used when by the API. So it would sound like that if you were to invoke a report or display a report that has filters, then it wouldn't use the filters actually. It would just display all the records, so which doesn't sound very helpful. I'm wondering if anyone has used the Analytics API to call existing reports with filters and what the results are.
That's a great
question. Any devs out there with?
But I know that I haven't. Assuming from the silence of the phone, I don't think that anyone else has either. It's a tough question for sure, but I think it probably my recommendation is just do a proof of concept, which I think you would move forward with anyway. The audience can just don't have that audience on the call for that particular question. So that brings up a good point in terms of making sure the skills for both calls. So I'll take that, but I don't think we have the answer for you on this call. But it's definitely a good post for the developer forums.
Yeah, I'll give that a try. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think Todd Enders would maybe be one good to reach out on Twitter, because I believe he works with a lot of the analytics, and I know I've seen him tweet a lot about the Analytics API. So
I attempted, and I'm not a developer, and it was tough. So I'll be curious to see how it advances too.
Yeah.
So David, once you get your feedback, if you could post it on the MVP Office Hours group based upon your findings, that would be great as well.
I'll do that. Thanks.
Thanks,
cool.
Tim.
All right, Brandon, you are up next. Using the new location field on a custom object, and want to display results in a Visualforce page based upon the user's browser location. What's the best way to do this? Is there a cookbook recipe for it? All right, any MVPs?
Can they expand on that? Just give a little bit more info.
Certainly. So I built a custom object that has, I'm just using the location tag. So it's populated with, longitude and latitude. And so all I want to do, and it's probably really easy, right, from a developer perspective though, is when a user hits the page in the browser, it asks, if they're willing to share their location, and then based off of that location, search against the data table and bring back results within a certain radius, if you will.
Yeah, so I could provide a little color on that. So when you do ask for the user's location, the best way that I know how to do that is via IP address. Maybe there might be something cool with Chrome or HTML5 that's a little bit different, but if it were based on IP address, you'd have to make a call out to a web service to get the longitude and latitude of that IP address, and you'd have to get that in a usable state where it can be consumed within Apex.
Yeah, I would be using the HTML5's got a location tag.
Okay, cool. And that, I assume that's in the client layer, so you should be able to access that through JavaScript, correct?
Correct.
All right. So yeah, so you're going to have to create an Apex page, Apex method. Your method is going to have to accept the long and lat. So you have to do a JavaScript call that calls the Apex and returns that, or somehow find a way to store that user's location on maybe the user object or something like that. So it's persisted in Apex. So first you have to persist it with an Apex, whether it's passing to a method or persisting it on the user object or on another related object. You have to have that in there in order to do the successive query, which is going to be in SOQL to return. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you're on the right track. There's sort of a cookbook, but what you wanna search for is remote scripting when you're doing the Salesforce end of it. It's very easy for you to be able to execute an Apex method and pass in some variables, and then what you do with the Visual Force is up to you. You could also pass or render a Visual Force page passing those long and latitudes parameters inside the URL parameter. And so there are some examples of that, of passing parameters into Visual Force pages on the Developer Force website as well.
Yep, this is Andy. The term is JavaScript remoting you're going to want to search for. That'll allow you to pass a JavaScript feature into a Apex controller directly.
Thank you.
Is that Andy from Minnesota?
This is Andy from Minnesota.
This is Brandon Rothy from Minnesota. I've been to a couple of the Force developer groups, so I'm still trying to get my polling app built. So
if you want to come Friday, we have a JavaScript promoting class on Friday.
There you go. That is amazing. little bit of relevance. So if you're not signed up for a user group, go to a user group. All right, next.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Victor has a question here. Does anyone have hands-on experience implementing the new Salesforce console for sales? A lot of documentation I find is for the old console. I'm also viewing YouTube posted in September for this feature, and my UI options are not matching. Any MVPs out there with experience with the new console?
See, this is the challenge you have. I just want to put it out there. So MVPs are people too, and we get a little bit of an insight on these new features and functionalities, but until we have a use case to actually go and play around with it, we could also seem a little feature light or knowledge light on these topics. But what we can do is I'll take it to post to look to see if we have any Sales Cloud console documentation and post that back inside the MVP Office Hours chatter group. So if you want to look on there later on today, I'm going to go out and grab a URL right now and post it there. But as new features come out, there has to have, obviously we have to use these features too. So very new feature. I'm really excited about learning about it, but there'll be a learning experience for even the existing MVPs to get up to speed on it.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, yep, no problem, Victor.
All right, we have a question here from Looks like Gene here. We have a dashboard that we'd like to include 21 components. Yeah, so there is no way to add that last one. The question is can we add one over the 20? Unfortunately,
but depending on what you need to do, sometimes I've done a few things to get around that. Whereas, so a couple of things. One is if some of the dashboard components relate, you can use. I've used the, when I click on this, drill into, and then it'll go into a second dashboard potentially. So like, you can have a company dashboard, for instance, and then have, metrics from each department, and then maybe you click into one and it gives you the team-specific metrics or something like that. Otherwise,
it's more of a week, monthly, and yearly totals that we're trying to display.
So
it's 7 rows with 3 columns.
Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. Sometimes I've had to get creative with with that information. For instance, like I'll do either. It's harder because one of them we did like a scoring. We did some formula fields to do some scoring to calculate some totals, and so we were able to like pull components together via that way, and then the drill down got to the specifics.
Okay.
But that's something, for instance, that we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys using the table component?
We're trying to, yeah. So ideally, it's an event report, and it shows results based on the time frames. So we'd ideally like to use table because we want to show the photos of those users who are displaying in the report. But we find that based on the results, if one user has 0 results, then it throws the size of the table off, and it makes the entire dashboard really hard to read. So instead, we use a pie chart that fixes the size of each component. But ideally, we'd like to go back to a table.
You might be able to go to the table and then minimize the number of, like you could sort ascending and then minimize the number of, I mean that's kind of a different question, but you can sort ascending and then only show the top like 5 components or something like that, or you can filter out the zeros in your report potentially.
How do you force the 0 to display? We actually do want the zeros to display.
Oh, I thought you were saying it throws it off and you didn't want it to display.
Yeah, so we want to force it so that it always shows 5 people.
Okay.
And whether they have 5 results or 0 results, we want a big 0 to show up.
If they're not showing up today, then that's a tougher question. If they're showing up and you just want to see the top 5, that's separate. But if they're not showing, depending on, sometimes you can't show it. So you could maybe post if you can blur some things out, or if you need to or whatever, and post it on the chatter group, we could take a look.
What is
okay, great.
Sounds like
what is the type of report that's being used?
It's events. It's an activity with events.
Okay, and the person is the owner or assignee of the event. So like if a person has no events that meet the criteria of the report, you still want to display the person in the report with 0 events.
Correct.
But if you're
This is the assignee.
but you're using an activity-based report, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try to create a custom report type and select user as the root object, and select in the object relationships in the CRT users who may or may not have related activities. Because the problem is a report will only display that which you have data for.
Yeah.
And because you don't have an event, game over. Person is not going to show up.
Well,
but
if there's
going the other way with the CRT, the person exists. So you have that known quantity of there is the person, and the unknown is do they have the activity or not.
Okay. All right.
Safe harbor.
Instead of it being the assigned to, it becomes a user.
Becomes what?
Yes, it would have to be an owner report at that point in time, because the assigned to would be a custom field.
I've done stuff like that. I haven't gone under the hood in a while. I think there may be on a user-based CRT with activities, there might be options for like how the user is related to the object, like were they the creator of it or are they the owner of it? But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, the owner would
I've done that. I've done that, and it works. I've actually worked around that using a user report, and you have to finagle the criteria in the granular data. But on the report, it'll show everybody whether they have had an activity or not. It'll show everybody's name, and there'll be a big fat zero there.
Yeah, I've done it with opportunities. I know the concept is valid. But it is that unique animal in that there's the person who created the activity versus the person who is assigned the activity.
Okay. All right, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I want to spend the last couple minutes here. We have our own Deepa Patel who prepared some Spring 14 release coming up. Some of the great features that are coming out with that. And so I'd like to take some time to kind of just allow her to share some of those features. And if we have any more questions, just feel free to reach out on the group, reach out on Answers, and we will a lot of people out there to help answer questions there, and we'll be back on in a couple weeks. So, Deepa, I will go ahead and share my desktop here so you can see your blog here.
Okay.
So if you want to run through a couple of these, we only have 5
we have 5 minutes. So I'll go through it very quick, okay? So one of the great features, the release notes are over 300 pages. So I've tried to go in and highlight features that I think are helpful to both management and regular salespeople. So one of the things that I get a lot of requests for is forecasting, and the new features that are coming out with multiple forecasting or multiple forecast types is absolutely fabulous, because now not only can you forecast based on revenue, but now you can also forecast based on product family. So Jared, if you scroll down a little bit, like the top image that you're looking at, which is very familiar to everyone, where you see the revenue, you see all the people that are under the managers, all the salespeople, and what their numbers are. So this new feature with the product family, what that allows you to do is let you look at your forecast numbers by a product family. Like if you're selling hardware, you're selling software, you're selling services, now you can combine the forecast into those categories, so you can at a high level see how much hardware did this particular sales rep sell, or how much software does this particular sales rep sell. So I think it's a great feature. If you scroll down, Gerard, more, as far as how many people here actually use Salesforce One? Like, do we have a lot of people, or people are trying it out? One of the great features that's coming out with Spring 14 now is where you can actually look at Twitter profiles, and images and like social media and Twitter on the accounts and contacts, and also on the leads in Salesforce One. This helps salespeople a lot to kind of see who is, the prospect that they're talking to associated with, so they can reach out and do a little bit more, like, oh, I know that person and you know them, and let's talk about how, we can collaboratively work and help each other. The other feature that I really am looking forward to is like, how often are you heading up to a meeting and you're running late and you're trying to fumble with your phone to try and find out, what's the phone number and call so-and-so. We now have like a one click where you can click on a button and say, I'm running 5 minutes late, and Salesforce will send a notification to the people that are in that appointment, in that event meeting, and say that you're running late. So that's another great feature. And then now you can also embed charts, in a record on Salesforce. If you're looking at your account and you want to see, what the revenue is high level, you can add that chart on Salesforce Warren. The other object that I think is really, really helpful is the orders object. I know a lot of MVPs who said that they have done a lot of customization for orders, and Salesforce is now introducing a default order object, just like the quote object, that you can, enter orders into the system. We don't have a whole lot of detail at this time, but I think this is going to be a really good add-on for every organization. And then if you scroll down, we have chatter topics. Now, this is something that I think is absolutely fabulous for customer community and also on the success community. If you guys remember, in the past, we used to have tags that you could, tag different records and categorize so that when you search on it, you see all the records show up with those tags. Pretty much the chatter topics is going to be replacing the tags. Like when you give a chatter topic to any particular record or any conversation that you're following, when you do a search for that chatter topic, Salesforce will show you all the recent records that you've looked at that meet that chatter topic. But they'll also give you suggestions on here's some other topics that you might be interested in. So I think that's a great way to organize your records in Salesforce. If you scroll down, Jared, we're also now going to have announcements in chatter groups. And I think this is a fabulous feature because I know there's been so many times, that I've wanted to say, guys, I want to highlight this. Here's a big announcement coming. Can you guys please pay attention to it? And so now the announcement feature is going to allow you to highlight what you're trying to tell the group in, yellow on the main, in your main group window on the left-hand side, and I forget what we call it. But you'll also have the announcements as where, an icon along with where you can go look at all the previous announcements as well. And then the next feature with private messages and badges and communities. I've been wanting to see this feature come along for a very long time. And the concept of badges is where you reward someone for doing a great job or saying, hey, kudos to you for doing this. Or if you have competitions, internal competitions and groups, you can give badges to someone saying, hey, you're a great winner. So that's a great feature that's coming out. And private messaging is absolutely, something that I wanted to see because there are times when I want to communicate with people and you can't because anything you post on the group is always visible. The next feature, I've had quite a few requests coming in from customers where they want to see, a particular chart right on the home page. So now you have the ability to, embed charts, report charts in Visualforce pages. So in our example here, we've got a Visualforce component that's on the home page, and that chart shows up right away. So anyone logging in gets a great preview of what's going on in their environment. And then the next part is analytics enhancements. And some of these are absolutely fantastic for admins. The ability to hide report types. Now, I looked into this a little bit deeper, and these are if you've built custom report types and they're always visible, now you have the ability to hide those with the X mark. Another great feature for those of you who've used a lot of the matrix and reports, now you have the floating headers. So if you've ever looked at a matrix report, if you have a huge number of columns, you're scrolling, to the right, and you lose the main, column that gives you information about that data. So now you have the ability to have those floating headers so you don't lose it, just like Excel does where you freeze the first column or the first row. This is the exact same concept. The next feature is named dashboard filters values. And what this does is this gives you the ability to combine a lot of your filter criteria into a named value, and so that you can use that in filtering the dashboards and don't have to worry about having multiple criteria. Now, these are some of the Service Cloud enhancements. I am not a Service Cloud expert by any means. I'm working on it. But based on what I looked at, like at Dreamforce, I attended one of the Service Cloud events that was the roadmap. And one of these features was highlighted quite a bit is now you can have embedded images in your case emails that are going out. And the way they demoed this was absolutely fantastic, where you could really like drag and drop images in your email, and as you're working and sending out emails to customers. I'm hoping that at some point, maybe some point, we will see this feature in the Sales Cloud as well. I don't know. That's just, please, if anybody has any inputs to Salesforce, ask for it, because I think this is great. And then these are some of the other features that are now coming into the Service Cloud. And one of the great features, the ability to provide support, from Twitter and from Facebook, and you can see that feed right into your case records. So this is a compilation that I came up with based on, the way I work with clients and the questions that I get from clients. I know that there are a lot of other really great features, so some of the other MVPs could probably highlight some of the other features that they think are coming and are valuable to everyone. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks, Deepa, for sharing that. I just wanted to, bring over. This is a great site, findsf.info, where you can go search on items. And one of the great places it has is this blogs tab here, where you can easily, like for instance, I searched Spring 14, as Deepa said. Hers is just one of the many blogs, and so we try to get that out there. And then obviously the release notes are now out there on the web, so definitely check that out. And with that, I will say thank you to everyone for joining, or thanks you, and I appreciate everyone joining. And everyone have a great weekend, and we will talk to you on the next MVP Office Hours.
Jared?
Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Jared, you got a sec?
Yeah.
I just finished building a dashboard with that user activity report type. If you need to me.
It's amazing. Post it to the community group, the MVP Office Hours.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thanks,
Good,
guys. Bye, everyone.
Good stuff.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Please stand by.